One match away from the P&O Invitational title now, and today it's youth versus experience as Canberra's Kevin Richardson goes in against the veteran campaigner Ron Powell of Melbourne. Powell won the first of his 6 Australian titles in 1977, and he has an outstanding record in overseas competition. He won 2 gold medals in Manila in 1979, and he finished 4th in the World Masters in Caracas, Venezuela last year. A reputation as Australia's best heads-up player will give Richardson a tough test. Stay with us for 10 exciting frames after these messages. And here we are at the semi-final of the men's P&O Invitational, and a runaway winner, Kevin Richardson of Canberra, a 2:24 game to beat Alan Coleman, and he's in against a former P&O Invitational winner, Ron Powell of Melbourne. Richardson will take the first shot on the even-numbered lane. My co-commentator, as always, Bob Cook.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, Kevin's up against a very accomplished opponent this time in Ronnie Powell, one of Australia's greatest bowlers.
Oh, and a nasty opening, but we've seen a couple of bowlers do that in the past, and they've come up and won.
Not a good start from Kevin. Might give Ron a little bit of heart. He's a tough man to beat. He's got the reputation as a great match play bowler.
Yes, those steely eyes tell the story there, I think. And that's a nice opening. Yes, that's a strike. Good way to open. Well, Richardson's got a 3-pin split to go for, the 6, 7 and 10s, and as we've seen him do before, he's changed to the harder case ball, so it'll slide down the side. Let's see how he goes. Nope.
It slid, but it slid right into the gutter.
Yes, on a shot like that, of course, first frame, he had to go for it, and by doing that, he sped up just a little bit too much and it slid off. So a bad opening for Kevin Richardson, the local Canberra hope. A 7 miss in the first frame, but there's plenty of strikes in that ball of his. Ron Powell in a world of his own, looking for a double. Very determined bowler. Oh, and he broke that one up. That was a nice result.
Got some pin splash there that left the middle pin, the 5-pin.
Ron Powell, one of the only bowlers in Australia to have rolled 2 sanctioned 300 games. His first win was in 1977 in the Nobby Invitational on television, and he's won the Sydney Cup twice, the Brisbane Cup, the Melbourne Cup. He's won the World Doubles and Teams in 1979. He's represented Australia in Asia, Caracas and America. All over the world, Ron Powell. And at this stage, he's going to be about 13 pins ahead of Kevin Richardson.
Excellent concentration from this Victorian bowler.
Yes, well, you said that against Ruth Gerster, of course, and she missed that pin, Bob. I was glad you didn't say too much just then, but Powell covered it quite easily. A 13-pin leader after the first frame, 20 with that strike and spare, and Kevin Richardson, of course, with a 7 miss, going for a spare in the second frame, and he's got it.
A good example of the follow-through then. Kevin follows through directly at the spare, high up towards the ceiling.
Yes, well, he made a drastic change in that game against Coleman. He found that the ball wasn't reacting the way he wanted from an outside line, and he moved across to the middle, and that's about where Powell is bowling.
Eyes on the spot from Ronnie Powell.
Another good shot. Yes, a strike all the way for Ron Powell. Let's have a look at that one again. A perfect strike ball from this most accomplished bowler. Crash.
Well, Kevin can't afford another mistake. He's made 1 mistake already. Cannot afford another one against such a worthy opponent.
And look at the grip on Kevin Richardson's ball. Very long grip. Must be about almost 6 inches, I guess. No, he's in trouble. This early stage, 16 pins behind. A 7 count after that spare gives him 17 onto 7, 24. Plays 40.
Kevin had a bit of trouble staying on the right-hand side of the headpin in his match against Coleman, but he did it on crucial shots, got the strikes. This time he's trying to make the adjustment, but he just hasn't got there.
Well, this is the semi-final. No place for the weak of heart and mind. And he's covered that spare in the third frame. 16 pins behind, but Powell, with a strikeout in front of him, will be hoping to add to that and make it just that much more difficult for his opponent. The loser of the game today will get a cheque for $700, from AMF, and the winner meets Tom Curry, the top qualifier in our men's grand final in a couple of programs.
Ronnie Powell using an AMF angle ball, a urethane stock ball.
Yes, they turn quite a lot when they get down near the pins, and that was a good example of very good pin action. That ball was light enough to only get 5, 6 or 7 pins over, and because it turns so much as it nears the pins, he broke them right up and got 9, so that's a good result. Richardson's going to have to make a move right about now. Squeezing his fingers in, he wants to get a good feel on it. Concentrating, deep concentration. That's a good lot of pin action. They spun around a lot.
The pin, almost fell on the 4-pin. Just fell the wrong way, and the 4-pin's still there. Could have gone either way.
And Powell, look at that. Deep concentration. And another pin lead. 17 the difference now. 60 for Powell. Plays 43. And Richardson not showing the aggressiveness that he did against his hyped-up opponent, Alan Coleman, who had won 3 matches in a row. Moved right up from the bottom of the ladder. In fact, when Alan finished up the game, he said, well, a few games ago I was only $200 richer, and now I'm $500 richer. He was very pleased with his performance, as we were too, for a bowler from Tasmania. They don't get too much practice down there, but Ron Powell, of course, a world traveller in 10-pin bowling.
Yes, Ron represented Australia in Las Vegas just this year.
And that's a wayward shot, but he broke it up. He got 9 out of it. That's the benefit of a good working ball, one that hooks a fair bit. They'll break up those splits just about every time.
Ron's ball rolls on the outside of the thumb hole, and it's in fact what we call a high spinner. Gives him a good working ball.
As opposed to Kevin bowling, what, a semi-roller?
Yeah, semi-roller, but it's closer to the thumb hole than is Ron's.
And a very nice style. And that looks good, yes. He needed that one, and good facial reaction there. Let's have another look at it. Not quite right in the pocket, but certainly good enough to carry the 6 and the 10 pins. Back with Powell now. Needs to cover the 3-pin. And I've noticed that neither bowler seems to be throwing the ball too far out on the lane, as opposed to Coleman. He was doing that quite a lot and getting lots and lots of strikes out of it. And Rod Bayliss, of course, had 8 strikes for a 200 game to lose against Coleman. He was giving the ball plenty of air, but both of these fellas seem to be laying it down a little bit short.
Richardson now looking for 2 strikes. Just got 1 good strike.
Yes, he likes to take his time. He wants to have full control of his mind so that his body will do what it should do. And he gave that one a bit more room. And that's a strike. He called to it, get over, and it did. It crossed over to the Brooklyn side, but that's given him a chance now. If he can get another one on top of this, it puts Powell under the whip.
Ron yet to get less than 9 on any ball.
Yes, 2 strikes and 3 9 spares, and this one's going to, oh, well, I wish you wouldn't say things like that, Bob. Only got 7. 96 now, and Kevin's potential in the 5th frame is 93. This is a difficult cluster of pins too. The 3, 6, 10 has to be a pretty perfectly placed ball, and Ron's giving himself plenty of room. He's moving right over there and nudging the side of the ball return so that he can send the ball out and take the 3-pin. Oh, and he almost chopped it.
Yeah, it almost...
Let's have a look at that spare.
A bit too high.
Yes, that ball was going right into the nose of the 3-pin, but just hung in there long enough to give him that spare. And there goes that last pin.
That's the benefit of bowling from a wide angle. The ball doesn't hook as readily if it's bowling down the lane as it does going across the lane.
Well, Richardson, of course, in that last shot, he gave the ball plenty of room. It did cross over, but it gave him a strike nonetheless. And he'll be looking for another one now. It's a tense situation. Well, he got that one right out. Oh, look at it turn. He knew it was gone when he let it go.
Yes, it looks like the lanes have dried out a little under the TV lights. Kevin's just not making that adjustment. Could have been a very costly ball.
Yes, that's going to cost him dearly. Powell now has to stay clean. That looks pretty good. Well, a good hit. Another 9 count for Powell. Obviously not fully at ease with himself yet. That's the sign of a bowler who's playing a little tentatively, and Kevin just going for 1 pin there. He can't do much with that one. It's best to get 1 pin. In fact, he did get that 7 miss in the first frame that could end up costing him a 2 pin count there instead of a 7 miss. Might have made a little bit of difference, but he's 5 pins behind in the 6th frame and will go further behind if Powell can get this spare. And right in the middle of the pin. Sign of a champion bowler.
Nice balance at the foul line, Ron Powell, as we can see from the side-on shot.
Yes, he's been bowling for 23 years. He started playing at the first centre in Melbourne and now does his bowling in Melbourne at Chadstone, and of course the new centre at Sunshine.
Kevin Richardson, the local boy.
He'd like to win for the home crowd.
Looks good.
Oh, it was good too, and look at that pin rock. It didn't go, and his potential game now, the maximum he can get with the spare and 4 strikes in a row is 199. Powell shooting at a 195 pace, so there's still room for Richardson to pull this semi-final out of the fire.
All concentration.
Oh, gee, he broke those ones up.
That rolling pin could have snuck over to the 10 pin, but another pin prevented it, got in its path.
Well, that's 15 pins the difference now, 119 to 134. And Richardson needs the spare, and then he's got to go all the way. And hope that Powell doesn't.
Ooh. He thought it was going to hook away and miss it, and so did I. But it hung on. That's the main thing. He's got the spare on the board.
Lucky that lane was only 62 feet long. If it had been 63 feet long, he'd have been in trouble.
Ron right over to the left again. That's a good shot.
Yes, of course, that's one of the values in finishing your approach right at the foul line, not going over it, of course, but finishing it right at the foul line. Otherwise, you have a situation where you have to throw that ball just a couple of inches longer.
Kevin now, not much room to play with. Only 2 frames left in the game.
This one's got to be a strike. And it's a wayward shot. Only 9. That brings his maximum score down to 188, and Powell shooting at 194. Richardson's in trouble.
Ron knows he's got the match in his grasp. Be looking for a good shot here.
Well, we got out of that one poorly, but yes, he didn't get the result that he would have.
Cut the follow-through short and
yes,
gave it a bit of a twist, Steve.
He certainly did. He really got out of that one quickly, under pressure.
Still pulled it into the pocket. A lot of experience behind this man.
Yes, that's the sign of a man who's been playing for a long time. He can still shoot a bad shot and pull it into the strike zone, and that's exactly what Powell did. Well, Richardson spare there in the 9th frame, 138 for him in the 8th, and Powell has 153. 15 pins the difference. We're coming up to the 10th frame after Powell goes for this, and he gets it. Been a pretty consistent game. He's only had 2 strikes, but he's had 7 spares, and 6 of those have been 9 counts. So he's making full benefit of his spares by getting a good count after each one of them. Richardson's do-or-die frame coming up. He's looking at the scoreboard. He knows that if he gets the first 2 strikes, he's put the wood back on Powell. This one's got to be a strike. Needs it. He's riding it. Yes, it's a strike. And he's a very relieved boy, because that now gives him a chance to win.
And that was always going to be a strike. It was a great shot under intense pressure.
Well, let's see what Powell does now.
Put it right back on the Ron now.
Yes, those 15 pins can disappear if this is a wayward shot, and Powell looking very tentatively at it. He bounces away from that. Thank you, Lord, he says. 13 pins the difference. He cut that deficit back by a couple of sticks then, and another strike here means that Powell has to spare the difficult little 6-10 conversion. Needs a strike. Not to be.
not happy.
Well, Powell's got it won.
A tough ball. He just put in a perfect strike. It's even harder to repeat the performance, and Kevin wasn't quite up to it.
No, and Powell can't lose now, even if he misses these 2 pins, which he hasn't. But if he had, and Powell, rather Richardson, had got the spare, Powell would still have won the game by 1 pin. So Powell will meet Tom Curry in our grand final. However, in our next match, we'll see the women's grand final, and it pits Canberra's Jenny Burden in against Cheryl Munson. They'll be bowling for big prize money and a 13-night cruise on board P&O's Canberra, visiting Noumea, Vila, Suva, Savu and Auckland. That's in the next game. Ron Powell finishes up with another 9 and a very consistent game, no opens at all, a 190 and a win by 12 pins over Kevin Richardson, who takes 3rd place in our P&O tournament and wins $700.